It's a nice brisk morning, at least the sun's out, so hopefully it will warm up a bit later. We're here early enough to get into the Orchid Society show, hopefully before everyone else, so we can get some of those nice photos in that you all want to see. Let's get straight to it and see what this has to offer this year. Here with Jeff from Mighty Fine Orchids, and he's got some of the best cymbidiums on show. In fact, he won best cymbidium on show. Let's ask him how he managed to do it. Welcome, Jeff.
Welcome to you all. Generally mighty fine, because I've never seen a bad orchid yet, but these are particularly ones I like. Mainly, I think the judges got this wrong because they gave it to the green one, but I like the pink one better, and I don't like pink as a color, but it's just something I like. I grow kind of in each and everything. So.
And what is the mix that you use in your cymbidiums to get them to look so lush and beautiful?
Pine bark, which I wash all my pine bark, so I wash it, and then generally I add in a bit of coconut husk or coir, the coir fibers, and sometimes a little bit of river sand, Amgani sand, but quite coarse. So it's quite a light friable sort of composty mix, and then I repot probably about every 3 or 4 years.
And feeding, do you have a strong feeding regime with them?
No, not at all. Yeah, that's one of the bad things. When I pot, at about 3/4 up, I normally plant and put a slow release fertilizer in, a 14-month fertilizer at about 3/4 level. Then I fill with the rest with bark. I've often put a bit of stone on the top. But when I water, unfortunately, I've got a big operation and everybody gets the same thing. So I mix a JoJo tank with 1,000 liters of fertilizer in there. I have a pump that comes out, and then some of the water goes back in the JoJo to keep it circulating. And they get the same as the paps, get the same as everybody. And I don't have time.
And you don't find a problem with it looks like macadamia nutshells holding too much water or anything?
No, because I used to use a lot of macadamias. I even bought a hammer mill to break their macadamias down to, because I got clever and I thought I was going to do them for the dendrobiums, but the dens didn't like it. So I sat for about 2 years with macadamia nutshells and a hammer mill breaking these things up. But no, I don't put a lot in. I just do it to basically give me aeration. And again, I use 2 sizes of bark. I either use a medium grade or a coarse grade. I wash the bark to get all the tannins and the dirt and the soil out. And then afterwards, I put a bit of bone meal, a bit of lime, perlite. And then I use the max shells to give me a bit of aeration. But it's a percentage. I don't grow a lot in max shells anymore. I've gone away from it. I used to use max shells, but I've got a problem, like you say, with them holding water. And also I find I get this white fibrous fungus, which I'll show you in the one speciosum over there. And it's very fibrous type of thing, and I think that clogs the roots. My biggest problem with dendrobiums is weeds. Cheese and grass. I had a lady asking me about masdevallias today, and I haven't been in that masdevallia house for 2 years since I came back from overseas. And the grass is about 500 mil high, so the masdevallias are in there under the grass somewhere.
Yeah, well, at least we know they like a bit of shade, so that should be all right.
Yeah, very much so. But I still think that we got best cymbidium with, but I kind of like that one. I really think that's a stunner.
And most of the ones that you're dealing with here are the slightly warmer flowering ones?
Yeah. I used to grow a lot of pendus. I bought a lot of cymbidiums from the late Leon Davies. I particularly like the pendulous ones. I've killed lots over the years and because of neglect and just lost interest. But I'm coming back into that now, so I have a lot of miniatures, and that's the thing, and I'm going to start going into that. But pendulous, and also stick to the smaller size cymbidiums with our area. If you buy these big massive things this size, even Maritzburg's not really cold. You've got to be moist over here. You need it at 0 and below 0 to work. So I tend to go for the intermediates and the smaller ones. And I trade a lot in cymbidiums, but I'm now coming back into it a bit more, and I'm going to start producing a lot more. Generally, I grow for other people. These are my 2 keepers. So, and then my government, who I'm married to, she has certain ones that I'm not allowed to sell or do anything. They were all by the front door and that. Some very nice flowering ones that customers keep saying, I want that one, and that's all the ones that we're not allowed to. But another one I like is Amalia Earhart as a fave. Oh, yeah, I didn't bring it today. She's only spiky now. Thank you. Cool. Thank you so much.
catch Jimmy just in time. He's president of the Highway Orchid Society. He's a busy man today. And we've noticed he's got a lot of Paphiopedilums and Phragmipediums on the show with lots of award-winning ones there. So the Paph King, what can you tell us about them?
Yeah, the Paphiopedilums are one of my favorite genera to grow. I really do enjoy them. I think they're fascinating plants. They're sometimes not so easy. But yeah, I've had a reasonable amount of success growing them.
Because I see there's an amazing big yellow one here. And is that your prize?
Yeah, well, this one turned out really nicely this year, Paph Norita Hasegawa. And I managed to get 2 spikes on the plant, which is really nice to see. Yeah.
And to get your plants looking in such good condition, is there a specific media that you like to use?
I tend to just grow in a fine to medium bark. I add a bit of perlite, sometimes a little bit of sphagnum moss to keep the moisture in. Although when I do grow, I do let the mix dry out quite a lot, more than is normally recommended by Paphiopedilums. But I find if I grow them drier, I do manage to retain the roots. If I keep them too moist, I find the roots rot quite easily.
Because that's the big problem that I have is I tend to kill them because it says keep them moist, and I keep them moist and they just die from the bottom up.
Yeah, that keeping them moist seems to be the standard practice for the northern hemisphere sort of greenhouse conditions, but it doesn't work with us here. We definitely need to grow them drier, and you keep the roots and you don't lose your plants so easily.
And do you grow yours fairly warm or pretty cool?
I grow them in an enclosed space. You could call it a greenhouse or a glass house, but it's not really heated. Our ambient temperatures here aren't that low. So the temperatures go down to about 10 degrees. I don't let it go below 10 degrees. It's quite heavily shaded, about 80% shade. And then otherwise, we just, as I've mentioned, I let the mix dry out a little bit before I rewater, grow them fairly shady. I don't feed aggressively, I just sort of feed occasionally. I'm not too sort of fussed about feeding so aggressively. I think they're slow-growing plants. They don't need so much food, I don't think. I haven't lost too many plants due to crown rot. That's a big problem with Paphs as well. But I think, again, if you keep them too wet, they are susceptible to that.
Because that's, I think that's the problems that I've been having is you telling me all the stuff that I should have known a long time ago is that we keep them too wet and probably been feeding them too much because I kept being told they're heavy feeders.
Yeah. Well, they're not really. I mean, they put on one growth a year. So I don't feed them too aggressively. And I've had a reasonable survival rate with them. I haven't lost too many. Of course, you always lose a few, but that's more or less what I do. Yeah.
And I also see your leaves are in immaculate condition. Is it just the dryness that you keep them in that they don't have so many fungal problems?
They're sort of grown under cover, so we don't. A lot of us here grow under shade cloth, but if you grow under shade cloth, you're going to get them wet with the rain, which is going to be problematic. So they're grown under cover so they don't stay wet. I also have a fan in the greenhouse, so the fan blows over them all the time. And I pay quite a lot of attention in trying to keep the leaves dry or get them dry by night after watering. I sometimes spray with a material used to be known as Firesan, but a similar sort of material. Especially after watering, I find it basically it helps the water to drain out of the growths. It's a surfactant. It reduces the surface tension, and the water drains nicely out. So I pay quite a lot of attention to trying to keep the leaves dry by nightfall.
And then, which is your favorite one of the ones that you brought to the show?
Well, obviously this one over here, the Norita Hasegawa, it's done really well. I'm really pleased with it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. here we are with Amalia, orchid grower extraordinaire, orchid judge, and
Whoa!
and one of the happiest people you'll ever see at any orchid club. I see you've got lots of beautiful things on display here with lots of prizes. What do you want to show us?
So it's quite interesting. Orchid growers are very varied in what they grow, and it's often people say to me, pick a plant or what's your best, and I'm like, what appeals to me doesn't appeal to you. So I like to grow a lot of the species, a lot of the little interesting things. So we'll start with like the maxillarias here, and these are super easy, the maxillarias. A lot of them are scented, like this maxillaria picta. I mean, look at that coloring. It really is so sweet. And a lot of them, these maxillarias, some of them flower a couple of times a year, and they're so prolific with their flowering. So if you want something that's really got lots of flowers and easy and rewarding, that's a good one. And then there are some...
The maxillarias, do you have any problem growing them or anything specific that you do for them? Lots of water?
So look, it's again, some growers will swear by growing like the maxillaria variabilis a certain way, others another way. Then there's nothing on because it's not flowering time now. Then you've got Maxillaria tenuifolia, which is the coconut orchid. I mean, that will grow mounted in a pot, and that smells just like a pina colada, so I think it's a winner all the time. So no, I think that it depends on the different species. So it's such a wide family again, and like I always say, when you buy an orchid, make sure you get the name so you can research it. Because sometimes there are a little bit of differences within their growing styles, and sometimes some are cooler, some are warmer. So that's always a biggie. Get your name so you know where you are, starting point.
Always good advice.
Yeah, some people don't know, so just rather buy, because if you got your name, as I said, you can always do your own research. And then even in the areas that we live, I live in Queensborough, but I'm down in the valley where I've got a river. So I grow very differently to how people at the top of the road grow. So we have microclimates within our areas. So that also plays a part with how we grow our plants. That's also a biggie.
And what are the other little interesting things you've got to show us?
So we've got Foliodota, which is, get a load of these little flowers. Really tiny. They're quite hard to judge those lips on these because they're tiny. But, again, some people would look at this and say, oh, no big flower. I think this is so endearing. Something else that's quite interesting is this Oncidium chrysomorphum, which is very different to some of your big Oncidiums you get. It's just small yellow flowers, but there are so many. And as I say, I like the unusual, the different. Being a judge, I like to also grow the species to see what they impart to their progeny. And once you get to grow, you see the different growing styles of the actual plants. You can see it in their hybrids, in their babies, which is quite cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for showing us around. And this, just with this little Oncidium, are they also quite water-loving one, this specific one, or?
No, so I always laugh and I say whatever I grow, I've grown within an inch of its life. So it is very easy to grow because I don't have time to be worrying about that one's needs and that one's dry and that one's, so no, it gets watered the same as all my other things. So I find it's quite an easy, and that's the other thing is knowing your where you stay and what you can grow. I don't grow vandas because I don't like my cold and damp in the winter. So that's another thing is I've murdered too many. So, there is just some that are in your area you're going to battle to grow. So you need to have a wet wall if you're growing Masdevallias and the cooler stuff, or you need to then really cater for them. If you're like me and you want to have shade cloth and just everybody get the same treatment, then grow what works for you.
Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, you too.
Drop them in the comments box below too, or check out that Buy Me a Coffee link Ed posts up a lot of orchid related content there all the time. Also, if you feel like it, don't be shy, sign up, become a member, and grow like a pro. If you have found any of this information helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell, bing bong, to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. Help us grow as we help your orchids grow.